Robert Kiyosaki says only lazy people use their own money. Yeah, you heard that right. The guy who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the best-selling personal finance book of all time, literally calls you lazy if you invest with your own cash. Now, before you click away thinking this is just another rich guy being out of touch, here's what's wild. There's actual psychology behind this, behavioral finance research that explains why this OPM strategy, other people's money, might be genius or might set you up for catastrophic failure. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand the hidden mental traps that keep 90% of investors stuck and why your brain might be wired to stay poor. Let's break it down. So Kiyosaki's whole thing is this. He forbids himself from ever saying, "I can't afford it." His rich dad drilled this into him at age 9. Instead of that phrase, you ask, "How can I afford it?" Sounds motivational, right? Like Tony Robbins' energy. But here's where it gets interesting from a psychology perspective. This isn't just mindset fluff. This is about something called locus of control, a concept developed by psychologist Julian Rotter in the 1950s. People with an internal locus of control believe they shape their own destiny. They focus on solutions. People with an external locus of control, they blame circumstances, the economy, their upbringing, lack of money. Kiyosaki's rich dad was basically rewiring his brain from external to internal, and that's powerful for wealth-building psychology. But there's a darker side we need to talk about, because not everyone who says, "I can't afford it," is lazy. Some people are experiencing what Martin Seligman called learned helplessness. This is where your brain literally learns to give up because you've failed so many times that trying feels pointless. It's not laziness. It's a psychological defense mechanism. Imagine growing up in poverty. Every time you try to get ahead, something knocks you back down. Medical bills, car breakdown, rent increase. Your brain starts predicting failure, so it stops trying to protect you from more pain. That's not a mindset problem. That's trauma. And here's what Kiyosaki doesn't tell you. His strategy works if you already have a foundation. Financial literacy, a network, access to deals, emotional intelligence to handle stress. But if you don't have that, using other people's money can destroy you faster than staying broke. Let me show you what I mean. His first deal, a condo in Maui, $18,000, needs 10% down. That's $1,800. He had the money, but he raised it from investors instead, creating what he calls an infinite return. $0 of his own money, 100% leverage, cash flow positive from day one. Pause. This is brilliant from a capital allocation standpoint. Why tie up your cash when you can use someone else's and multiply your opportunities? But let's apply behavioral economics. Daniel Kahneman, Nobel Prize winner, talks about loss aversion. Humans feel losses about twice as intensely as gains. So when you invest your own money, that pain is real. You're careful. You do your homework. You manage risk like your life depends on it, because emotionally, it does. But when it's other people's money, the psychological distance changes everything. You might take bigger risks because the emotional sting isn't the same. And that's where OPM gets dangerous. Because you start making decisions you'd never make with your own money. Kiyosaki admits this. He raised $600,000 for a nylon wallet business that almost went bankrupt. He owed his dad $200,000. He was drowning in inventory nobody wanted. The only reason he survived? Dumb luck. A newspaper article, a jogger losing a car key, led to a shoe pocket invention, which blew up in Playboy magazine. Now, He tells that story as resilience, growth mindset, Carol Dweck, learn from failure, and that's valid, but it's also survivorship bias. For every Kiyosaki, there are thousands who used OPM and lost everything. They don't write books. They file bankruptcy. Now let's talk psychology. First, emotional intelligence. Most people cannot handle owing others money. It creates anxiety, social pressure, desperation, bad decisions. Second, cognitive bias, confirmation bias. You see what you want to see. You ignore red flags because you're emotionally invested. Third, availability heuristic. He remembers wins more than losses. That's self-serving bias. We credit success to skill and failures to luck. It feels good, but it makes you overconfident. And overconfidence bias? That's one of the biggest killers in investing. Studies show overconfident investors trade more, take bigger risks, and underperform by approximately 6% annually. That compounds brutally over time. So here's the truth. Kiyosaki is right about mindset. I can't afford it can absolutely trap you. But mindset alone is not enough. You need three things. Number one, financial literacy, cash flow, debt ratios, balance sheets, real risk. Number two, margin of safety, Warren Buffett's core principle, because deals go wrong, always. Number three, emotional regulation, fear, greed, ego. You must recognize them before they drive decisions. System one, thinking, fast, emotional, will destroy long-term investing. You need System two, slow, deliberate, analytical. Kahneman explains this in Thinking, Fast and Slow. Now the uncomfortable truth. Kiyosaki says poor people want free stuff and calls it laziness. But psychology says often it's learned helplessness, conditioning. If effort has repeatedly failed you, your brain stops trying, not stupidity, pattern recognition. And breaking that requires more than mindset. It requires support, resources, time, and sometimes therapy. So when he says, just raise capital, he skips the psychological barriers, fear of rejection, imposter syndrome, financial trauma, anxiety about debt. These are real. Now, what's actually useful from Kiyosaki? Scarcity forces creativity. That's real research-backed psychology. Constraints can improve problem solving. Also, investing in what you love helps endurance. But with a caveat, passion without data becomes delusion. And the biggest upgrade you can make, instead of saying, I can't afford it, ask, what would I need to learn? Who would I need to meet? And what risks would I need to manage to afford this? That version protects you. Now, debt. Kiyosaki loves good debt. If you borrow at 4% and earn 10%, you win, mathematically, but psychologically? Debt changes behavior. Every downturn feels like danger. You can't wait. You must act. And that leads to panic decisions. 2008 proved this. Not stupidity, pressure. And research shows high debt increases chronic stress, which actually impairs long-term decision-making in the brain. You shift into survival mode, short-term thinking. Bad compounding outcomes. So verdict? OPM is not good or bad. It's powerful, but only if your psychology is ready. Without financial literacy, emotional control, risk awareness, it becomes a trap. With them, it becomes leverage. So don't copy the strategy blindly. Study the psychology behind it. Understand your biases. Understand your fear. Understand your overconfidence. Because the real skill in investing isn't aggression, it's awareness. And here's the challenge. Don't just repeat Kiyosaki's ideas. Dissect them. Read Thinking Fast and Slow. Learn how your brain sabotages your money decisions. Because financial success isn't a mindset you adopt overnight. It's a skill you build over years. Now tell me, what's your biggest struggle with money decisions? Fear? Overconfidence? Or not knowing where to start? I read every comment, and that shapes what comes next. If this helped you, share it with someone who still thinks investing is just about motivation. Next video, why the S&P 500 is not as safe as people think, and what behavioral economics reveals about index funds. See you there.